Welcome to brandylibrary.tv, and this time we're going to Mexico. Not just Mexico. I know you're thinking tequila, I know it's a bit more special. It's mezcal, and with Steve Myers and Ilegal Mezcal. How are you, Steve?
Very well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. What about Ilegal? Am I saying it right first?
You are. If you were to say it in Spanish with a double L, it would be Ilegal, which doesn't quite make sense. So the single L means it's illegal.
Okay, but now can we still drink it?
Yes, you can. And it's not quite as illegal as it used to be.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll give you a brief history of our brand and how I became involved, and we'll taste and chat as we go along.
Lovely.
Okay, Ilegal Mezcal. To get involved, I'll give you my backstory. I used to run volunteer programs in Costa Rica doing rural infrastructure. I then moved to Luxembourg for a couple of years, played a bit of rugby, ran a pub, travelled, and went back to Latin America again. Was in Guatemala to study Spanish to get it up to speed, and had someone clone a bank card and take about $10,000. So on the spot, I quit language school. I wasn't going back to Australia. I wasn't going to Costa Rica early, and I needed a job. And there was this fantastic, crazy hole-in-the-wall dive bar that had live music every night, paintings on the wall, graffiti everywhere, more candles than lights, and I ended up getting a job there. So I would move back and forth between Guatemala and Costa Rica, running the program and managing the bar. And we have a little bar in the back where you either go through the kitchen, or there's a hole in the wall about this big with an old refrigerator door. And it is like a speakeasy bar. So you go through the kitchen, or you have to duck under the door. And we had tequilas and mezcals.
Okay.
The owner of the bar, John Rexer, who was originally from New York, he and I would go to Mexico to stock the bar. And as time went by, we started selling more mezcal and tequila to the point where we were selling more mezcal than rum. We were doing our own infusions, and we had people saying, I'm going back to New Zealand for my father's birthday. How many bottles can I take? So as sort of the brand kind of organically grew and grew and grew, he and I traveled all through Oaxaca, visiting all the palenques, the towns that we possibly could. And we started bringing it back, and it was plastic Coca-Cola bottles with a Sharpie saying the village and the producer. We started to work with a gentleman called Eric Hernandez. If you look at the back of the bottle, we have non-number 1. So he's the first registered mezcal producer with Comican. He is also a fourth generation mezcalero. To the point where he can eyeball what he does. So he can grab a bottle and shake it up like this, and the bubbles you see that are called pearls, he can look at the volume of pearls and how they dissipate and tell you what the proof is. And I have seen him be off once by half a degree.
Right, so he definitely knows.
Yes.
There's ethanol content there.
Yeah, he does. And like I said, sort of having done it from this high. So we still do the traditional method using the Tahona. So I know there's a lot of estate grown sort of terminology used these days. Eric has quite a big family. So he has his own land and his own agaves, and then sort of between his family and extended family, that's where he purchases his from. So he's involved from the planting to the harvesting to sort of overseeing the bottling for us. This one is the Reposado. Mezcal has the same age categories as tequila. Mezcal is called a Hogan. That's more a, I wouldn't say slang, but it's more the cultural norm instead of saying blanco. To the point where anyone older than me will call me jovencito, the little young one. And that's sort of a really broad term used with anything, especially Oaxaca. So our mezcal comes from a small town called Tlacalula.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it actually, in the local dialect, it means twisted town. So given our track record and our history, it's
only normal. It's really only normal. Very fragrant.
And just briefly on the label, you'll find that the US label is different to the rest of the world because we had to comply with TTB regulations.
And the right balance with the oak, because obviously on the nose, it's still very aromatic, it's still fragrant, you're retaining the espadin there.
Exactly, and what you find that...
certainly not over oaky, at least on the nose.
No, and that's kind of a very fine line because much like the bourbons and the whiskeys from America, mezcal ages very quickly because it's hot days, cold nights. so the barrels are expanding and contracting.
Mhm.
So for something that's been in a barrel for 4 months, this is quite dark. So relative to an 18-year-old Scottish whiskey that's been sitting on top of a mountain where the temperature doesn't change. So obviously they've got to have their barrel regime and their timings, but it's the same with mezcal, but just in a much shorter window.
So now, what kind of oak are we talking about? Or is it oak?
It is. Okay. Yes, by law, it's oak. It's an American oak.
All right.
So quite often you'll find that in Oaxaca, they're generally old bourbon barrels, purely because it's closer and logistically it's easier and it's cheaper. And like I said, because the producers are so small down there, they can't afford to bring in like mixed stave barrels or Slovakian oak or French oak. So these two we have a bit of a blend. Some are American whiskey barrels, and others have been completely recharred. So it's a medium 3-4 char on all of them.
All right.
Just there's and I guess it's an in-house secret as to what the split is. But we have some recharred ones and some.
But all of them are ex-Americans. Okay. All right. Have you tried some other?
We're starting to play around with some. We found that we got a sample from World Cooperage, the radiated oak. So it wasn't actually charred. It was however they radiated it, was fantastic.
Some sort of a toast.
Yeah, sort of. It was a medium toast that they hadn't burnt directly. They radiated the oak.
That kind of heat treats it, but
without burning it.
So
again, to get the color, that might take a little longer because you don't have that blackness to it. But last time I was in Guatemala, we had it was like the grown-up chemistry set. We had, I think it was something like 7 cases, from flakes to chips to powders to small mini stays to sort of putting numbers on the labels.
But generally speaking, the aging on your mezcal is in those ex-American whiskey barrel sizes.
Oh yes, it's sort of the genuine 250 litre size.
All right, okay. And so now between the Joven and the Reposado and the Añejo, what are we looking at? 4 months.
The Joven is straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Yep. So no aging at all.
And then that's 4 months.
This one's 4 months, and this one is sort of 12 to 13 months.
Okay.
And I say that because our production is so small that some of it may come out of the barrel, given the time frame that goes into the barrel. It might be sort of a 3-week or a 4-week difference because we are producing such small amounts at a time that it's not like sort of the 600 bottles worth all get done at the same time. So it's there is a slight window. And again, that goes back to the more art and science.
Well, let's taste it then.
Yeah.
Salud. You say that, all right, well, get your Joven maybe chilled, or maybe, how would you say that this mezcal really shines?
Yeah, I think we're very lucky in the fact that we have the 3 agings. So it can play 1, 2 different demographics and 2 different food pairings and then different times of the day. I would say the Joven works great in cocktails, but also as an aperitif. So it gets the body flowing and ready for something to eat. This, again, if old fashions are your thing, try it with that.
Hey, why not? I haven't.
With the orange and stuff, it is fantastic.
I haven't tried, but now I'm intrigued.
With a cheese platter or something like that. And then again, I would say depending on how much you've had to eat, if you want a really good digestive, I would probably slip back to the Joven again because it is bright and it's crisp. And it helps sort of cut through everything that you've just eaten.
Definitely, yeah.
And then sort of sitting around sort of late night, talking with friends, that would be the time for the Añejo.
Now, everybody's having it, his or her own way.
Absolutely, that's what I tell people. If you
but what would you say about ice? What would you say about? Have you seen people adding water to it? Have you seen?
I'm sort of the mind that if you drink your whiskey with a rock or 2 rocks, or you drink your rum with a bit of water, especially for first-time mezcal drinkers, drink it exactly the same way you would another straight spirit.
Right.
Otherwise, because a lot of people haven't necessarily tried it, it's going to be different. Sort of to try and explain to someone what it tastes like without them actually smelling or tasting it can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you drink your whiskey with the rock. First time, try your mezcal with the rock, because you're running on a similar plane. And then if you decide that you want to move back to neat or have it with a splash of water, then do it that way.
I see.
And so as you know, you add water, it opens it up a little more. You get better flavors because it is less boozy. So yeah, for the uninitiated, drink it how you would another spirit.
All right, very good. And now you were mentioning cocktails. In cocktails, how do you still keep that smokiness and that vibrant, fresh aromatic of mezcal?
Generally, what I do, and that's because of the caliber of bartenders in New York, and I've just come back from a 7 cities and 27-day tour of Australia and New Zealand. I am happy to put it in their hands.
All right.
And sort of these guys with their palates and their spirit knowledge, they're fantastic.
So you can definitely keep the personality of the mezcal
Very
in spite
so.
of the sweetness, in spite of the bitterness and whatever ice and whatever shaking that goes on.
Yep, even to the point where your favorite cocktail, if you want a bit of mezcal in it, try it as a float. And you get the smoky nose, and you get it permeating slowly through the drink.
All right, very good.
So mezcal really is very flexible when it comes to cocktails.
Well, we definitely love mezcal here, and we'll keep on playing with it. And we're glad that not just New Yorkers, but people open up to mezcal and realize that this is a very serious kind of drink. Not serious by so difficult and inaccessible, but serious by actually filled with aromatics, and it's very flavorful, and it is definitely worth paying more attention to. And we're very lucky because it's New York and because we can get quite a few mezcals, but and of course including Ilegal.
Yeah, I mean mezcal is a very complicated spirit because of the production process and everything that goes into it, and then sort of the nose and the flavor and the length of the finish, and the different agings. So sort of with Ilegal, we wanted to hold on to that balance between the smoke and the agave through all three, and we created them so they are standalone spirits, not just a darker, sweeter version of a darker, sweeter version of a darker, sweeter version. We wanted them to be individual spirits, but all come from the same juice, as it were.
Yeah.
The packaging, sort of from the wax to the signatures to the individual numbers to sort of the burnt edges of the label, has been done all in-house. From crazy characters, like I said, at Cafe Nuce, to us sort of talking about it, we wanted to make a brand and a label that was really in feel with our experiences in Oaxaca and Mexico. When the Spaniards gave out licenses for the production of the Vinos de Mezcal, obviously sort of the tequila region and Jalisco had much more political influence and importance in Mexico City compared to Oaxaca. So the people that were producing the mezcal wines there were doing it illegally as well. So ultimately, I guess we are the latest page in the story.
What can you tell us about the mezcal consumption in the U.S. generally speaking?
It really has come a long way from the teenage stuff that you bought that had the worm in the bottom. There are still some brands that have the worm.
Yeah, there's no worm in yours.
No, we kind of went the other way. We went for signatures and numbers rather than worms. But overall, mezcal consumption has come up a lot, and in all honesty, I believe it is one of the few categories left that will expand. There's thousands of rums and gins and tequilas and vodkas out there, but mezcal, I think, will be the next big category.
Yeah.
And as cocktails become more widespread and consumers sort of their palates become broader and their knowledge and their experience becomes broader, and a lot of that is due to sort of the quality of bartenders increasing and spreading across the US. More and more people will get involved and sort of appreciate a good mezcal.